Hey everyone, it's Kristen. So with the new Disney Plus series Loki, I ran across something that I totally forgotten about. Um, X-Men and Alpha Flight versus Loki. But you never thought you'd hear those words together, or to hear that sentence. But so I thought, with all the um, I will say hype, for lack of a better word, surrounding the Loki series, I thought I would talk about that because it combines, has to do with X-Men, which I love, and Loki, and he's in a situation that you would, I don't know, you wouldn't think about. Okay, because the Loki, like, of today, I will say, is different than the Loki from the comic books. Like, this comic book was 1985, so basically that Loki is not like the modern day version Loki. I mean, there's some similarities, but you'll see the differences. I mean, when we start talking about this. But okay, before I start talking about that, I just want to give you a brief history of Cyclops. A lot of people say he's a jerk, with good reason. Because I mean, you know about Cyclops and Jean, and then Cyclops and Emma Frost, the White Queen. But did you know about Cyclops and his dead wife's clone, Madeline Pryor? Probably not. But anyway, we're going to talk about that really quick before we jump into this, because Madeline actually plays a big part in this series, if you can believe that or not. Anyway, so we first meet Madeline in Uncanny X-Men 168. And so the thing is that Cyclops has reunited with his father, Corsair, Christopher Summers of the Starjammers, which we learned about during the Phoenix Saga, Dark Phoenix Saga, and his brother Alex. And they're going to go see his dad's parents, so Scott's grandparents, in Alaska. And, okay, this is where we meet her. She's like, "Welcome to Alaska. My name is Madeline Pryor." And Scott's like, "Wait, have I gone crazy?" Her voice, the face, it looks just like Jean. I mean, am I going crazy? Which is funny, because earlier in the same issue, and we talked about her in another video we did recently, because Scott, once he left the X-Men after Jean died, he hooked up with Lee Forrester in her crew. She's a boat captain. And we see, him paying her a visit, Lee, and talking to her, and basically, they're romantically involved. And even though he's like, "Well, I can't promise you anything, and I'm sorry, I'll go. I don't want to hurt you." And she's like, "No, that's fine. I want you to stay." Anyway, just so you know that during the course of this issue, when we meet Madeline Pryor for the first time, he's already with someone, kind of, but of course he immediately would dump her for Madeline. Okay, so you see on this Uncanny X-Men 174 is where they actually get engaged. I mean, that's pretty quick, considering he just met her in 168, and now it's 174, and they're engaged. So, wow. Okay. And anyway, so you can tell by the cover, probably, that is Mastermind. He's come to mess with Scott's head. And here he is on this plane, because now, apparently, Scott is now a pilot with Madeline, and, she works out of Alaska, so that's where they live now. And the priest is like, "Hey, son, you dropped this." And you see this picture of what you think is Madeline. Nope, it's Jean. It's one of their vacations they went on together. And he's like, the priest is like, isn't that our captain? And Scott's like, sure. It's not. It's Jean. And so he's, thinking, what the heck is wrong with me? Like, am I crazy? And so, even though he's already proposed to her, he has the audacity to ask, Madeline, are you Jean? Are you Phoenix, like, reincarnated? And she decks him, because for Madeline, she is a clone created by Mr. Sinister from Jean Grey's DNA. But Madeline has no idea she's a clone. So, of course, she would be offended when since Scott asked her, hey, are you my dead girlfriend come back to life? That sort of thing. So basically, anyway. And then you get this image at the end of this issue, and you're like, oh no, Dark Phoenix is back. But no, it's not really. It's just Mastermind messing with everyone's head. So in this issue, the next one, basically the whole issue is just all in their heads. They basically, they all think that Dark Phoenix has returned, spend the whole issue fighting her when actually they're fighting Cyclops, and it's just a huge whole thing. And of course, he tries to mess with Madeline's head too, because that's what he does. And you see at the very end of this issue, you see Scott, he's ready for his wedding day, and he's putting flowers on Jean Grey's grave. Of course, Jean's not really there because she died died in space. And so she's not really there, but they still, wanted to give her a grave. And then you see them, getting married. Madeline and Scott. So now they're married. Like I said, just pretty quick. From 168, where they just met, to 175, they're married. Boom. Whereas it took Scott and Jean till X-Men 30, and this is not like Uncanny X-Men. This is X-Men, the 90s series, 30 to get married. So that's kind of crazy that, like, all of a sudden, like that, they're married. And it's interesting, I want to point out one more thing in this issue. When, because Rogue is wounded from her mission with Wolverine in the last issue, and she is actually in Jean's room nursing her injuries, and she's like, why, I don't understand what's going on. Like, of course, because Rogue wasn't there. Why do you guys talk about her, like, with, like, why do you guys get so nervous whenever you look at Scott's girlfriend? Why, who was Jean? And the interesting thing I want to point out is that in this issue, Nightcrawler says, she turned to Dark Phoenix, and in her rampage, this power that she had drove her mad, and in her rampage, she destroyed an inhabited star system, 5 billion lives. And after that, in a burst of sanity, she realized there was but only one way out to stop this evil inside of herself, so she killed herself. Okay, and the thing I want to point out that's interesting about that is that in some stories where they tell the Phoenix story, they say, oh no, the planet was uninhabited. There were no people, no life forms on it. She just destroyed this, this star system that was, lifeless. But I think that, like I said, it's just interesting that they try to say, oh no, she didn't do that, no. But if she hadn't have done that, then she wouldn't have had, I don't think she would have pushed herself, even though it, they changed it later that it wasn't even Jean Grey. I don't think she would have pushed herself to destroy herself because she realized what she had done. And if she hadn't realized that, like had a moment of guilt or remorse, she wouldn't have destroyed herself. So I think that had to be, life on that star system in order for her to feel, those emotions that Jean felt a human would feel about destroying so many lives. So remember that. 5 billion lives. That will come up later. I just wanted to point that out. Okay, so now you know the backstory of Scott. You know, basically he thinks Jean's dead. So, you know, now he has Madeline come along who looks exactly, Madeline, who looks exactly like Jean. But she supposedly is not Jean, but she really is Jean Grey's clone. But of course, nobody knows that. Like, not even Madeline. And that comes up later to be a super pivotal part of the story, like the Inferno story that happens in Uncanny X-Men 240, like 243. It's very important because basically Madeline finds out she's Jean Grey's clone and goes crazy. Turns into the Goblin Queen. So we'll have to talk about the issue also, that storyline, because it's actually a really important, like a really interesting storyline. And okay, well, wait, I won't say that yet because you'll find out in just a second. Okay, so, and of course, you know, here they are, they're pilots. Okay, I guess to be fair, Scott does the pilot the Blackbird, so I was just like, oh, well, now all of a sudden he's a pilot, but he was always a pilot, so never mind. Forgive my momentary lapse of memory. So here they are, they're piloting this research crew to the Arctic Circle, and they see like a flash in the sky, and they're like blinded. They're like, holy cow, what happened? And before they get blinded, Scott's like, I've seen this before. Like, we fought a group called Alpha Flight, and their magician, shaman, I think it's shaman. I'm sorry, I can't talk. I don't know what's wrong with me. Maybe I'm out of practice. He created this polarizing weather to force the plane to land so that they'd have to confront them. Anyway, so that's what he thinks it is. Like, that's why he thinks, you know, that happened. Okay, so we find the X-Men in the danger room, and all of a sudden, Rachel gets this flash, like this telepathic flash, and she loses control of her powers, and then all of a sudden the X-Men can see, like, her memories coming up. And she is actually the daughter of Jean Grey and Cyclops from the future. So it's like an alternate timeline, dates of the future past. You probably heard of that. It's like probably the most famous X-Men story, like, in history, which I know I say this a lot, but we'll have to do a video series on that too, because that is, like I said, the Phoenix Saga, Dark Phoenix, Days of the Future Past, those are the two most iconic storylines for X-Men. And I love that they happened, like, ages ago, so to speak. And that, because I feel like history is important. Like, that's why I like doing mostly older comic books, because I feel like people kind of just dismiss that, and I feel like it's important to remember. Just like I feel like I love history, so that probably makes me a nerd, but I love history, and I love to learn about it, and so that I can understand where we came from and how that affects where we're going. I don't know, I guess I'm just just a nerd, geek, whichever. Anyway, so they see this, like, projections from her mind of her, you know, Day of the Future Past, her timeline, and that's when she was a hound. They used her for her mutant abilities to track other mutants and kill them, and she saw basically all of the X-Men die, and so the Sentinels, you know, from her mind with the Danger Room technology makes them real, and so Kitty's like, Professor, we need your help because Rachel's out of control, and the Danger Room controls are fried. So she, you know, so the Professor shows them what Rachel's seeing. Like, this is what she sees. And Scott is her father. Scott doesn't know he's her father. And so she cries out, and she's, like, freaked out, like, oh my gosh, it looks like he died. Because, you know, a huge explosion. I mean, you would assume people would have died. So here we have Alpha Flight, and here's Shaman, and here is actually Sasquatch. His name's Walter, and when he changes, like, he's worried that, like, he's starting to lose more and more control and go into more and more rages, berserker rages. Who does that sound like? If your answer is Wolverine, you're correct. Oh yeah, I'm wearing my Wolverine shirt today. Anyway, sorry, random. Anyway, so Snowbird comes in, which, she's one of my favorite characters. She's not very well known, but I really just, like, connected with, well, basically, firstly, her costume. It's just really cool. It's awesome. And the fact that she can transform into any Arctic animal, I thought that was really cool, too. Anyway, so she comes in, she collapses. You know, Shaman, his name's Michael. He's actually a doctor. So since I keep calling him, you know, maybe wrong, I'm just going to call him Michael from now on. She collapses in Michael's arms, and he's like, I have no idea what's going on. And you see Rachel rush in, you know, and basically, you know, try to murder him because she thinks that he murdered her dad. And then, you know, Sasquatch and Aurora hear this commotion, and so they rush in to try to help. And Rogue, you know, goes after Rachel, and here's North Star, and he's super fast. And so she, you know, stops him with a kiss, basically, because, you know, if she can do physical touch, then she usually kisses people because she doesn't get to do that very often. And so she, you know, she sees inside North Star's mind and just how tortured he is, and she feels sorry for him. And then you see the professor projecting and saying, Rachel, you know, basically he's like, enough. You know, I don't know why you ran in here, attacked these people. We don't know the whole story. You need to apologize because this is totally unprofessional. You know, we just don't do this. So he chastises her. You know, she kind of apologizes. But, I mean, okay, one other thing, before she apologizes, Rachel, actually, Aurora comes after her, and Rachel senses that there's two parts to Aurora, so she switches her from Aurora to her other personality. And when she's in her other personality, she was brought up in a very religious background. She and North Star are twins, but they got separated at basically soon after when they were really young because their parents died. And North Star got adopted, and then and she didn't. She got sent to like a nunnery, and so she's super religious, super repressed. And one day when she manifested her powers, she found out she could fly, and she told the nuns, and they didn't believe her, thought it was blasphemy, so they punished her. And so basically she reverted to, you know, into herself, and that's how this Aurora personality got created. And she's the total opposite. She's, you know, carefree and out there and wants to have fun, and that's who is normally in charge. And so when Rachel switched her personalities, she switched her to, you know, Jean, her regular, not her superhero persona, but her regular persona. And so since they talk about it, and of course, this is how, you know, all superheroes battling each other usually happens. There's a misunderstanding. That's how it always happens. There's, you know, just a misunderstanding or someone else controlling them or whatever. They never battle just to battle and be like, hey, let's see who's the best. So they sit down, they talk about it, and they realize, hey, let's figure this out together, because obviously we're both trying to figure out the same thing, you know. And so, okay, so here we go. We open on Loki, and he's talking to these elder gods. We don't know exactly who they are, but I'm assuming they're like elder gods of Norse mythology. Just well, basically more powerful than Loki, because you can see Loki, he's right here, and then here's the gods, they're huge. And he's asking them for a favor. So obviously they're more powerful than him if he wants something from them. Obviously, like I said, they're more powerful than him. So they asked him to do a good deed for the people of Midgard, which is Earth, and prove himself worthy of their favor. And Loki's like, okay, done. I did it. I did a good deed for the people of Earth. And they're like, well, not so fast, because you have to prove yourself worthy. Like your brother Thor, he learned humility, and in learning humility, he proved himself worthy. So now they're saying basically now it's your turn to learn humility, because otherwise, we can't help you. And Loki's like, well, I have done my good deed. And they're like, okay, well, we'll see. We'll be patient, Loki. You'll hear our judgment soon. And Loki's like, oh, he's like, I can't believe I have to sit here and listen to these people. Like, not long ago, I would have, raged at their treatment of me. Like, this is beneath me to ask for a favor, but, But now he's saying, he needs their help. Basically, he's wanting more power. And these gods are powerful enough in that they can give it to him if he does what they ask. Okay, since I gave you that brief history of what a jerk Cyclops is, which, just wait, it gets better. It gets even better. Oh, man. I mean, he's a jerk. I never really liked him. They made him out to be like such a Boy Scout, but he's also a jerk. And you will see why in a little bit. I mean, but anyway, since I gave you that brief history of Cyclops and what a jerk he is, we went a little long, so we're going to continue this in the next video. And so I hope you join me for part 2 of this next video. Until then, bye.